It's so funny that there's so many conversations about fitness all over social media.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about the fact that like 99% of people that go to gyms never change. They look exactly the same. They're exactly the same strength. If they started fat, they're still fat. Like they don't get any results at all. That's the fitness industry right there.
This episode is for entertainment and information only. The opinions expressed are not professional advice, and listening does not create a client relationship. Always consult your own qualified professional before making any financial, legal, or health decisions. Hello, and welcome to the Healthy Wealth Experience. I'm your host, Chris Hall. Joining us today is the man often called the Tony Stark of the fitness industry, Dr. John Jaquish. A biomedical engineer by trade, Dr. Jaquish is the Wall Street Journal bestselling author of Weightlifting is a Waste of Time. He's the visionary inventor behind OsteoStrong, the world's most effective bone density building technology, and the creator of the X3 bar, which utilizes variable resistance to build muscle faster and safer than traditional weights. With partners like Tony Robbins and a roster of elite athletes from the NFL and NBA using his methods, he's here to challenge everything you thought you knew about getting fit. Dr. Jaquish, welcome to the Healthy Wealth Experience.
Thanks, Chris. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on the show. For those of you who don't know who Dr. Jaquish is, he's been, like I said, best-selling author. He's invented things. But let's have you, in your own words, kind of tell us, everybody, how you kind of got on this journey and where you started to get to where you are right now.
Sure. It started with my mother, actually. My mother was diagnosed with osteoporosis. She didn't want to take the medications because they had some pretty significant side effects attached to them. And she felt like she was too young to have these problems. Like she was in her late 60s. And so I looked at the side effects of the medications and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't want to take these either. Because it's one of these things, it's like, you can slightly reduce your fragility fracture risk, but then here are the side effects. And the side effects are like worse than accelerated fragility risk, as is with many pharmaceuticals. So I said, you know what, Mom, let me look into this. And I did. And I came to some very different conclusions that other people did. And it inspired me to build a prototype medical device that I would first use on myself to make sure it was safe, and then on my mother. And within 18 months, she had the bone density of a 30-year-old woman. And like I said, she was like almost 70 at the time. Massive recovery of bone density. And, now she has healthy bone density. She's in her 90s. That was about 20 years ago.
How long ago was that?
20.
Okay, that's great. And then so I've noticed that my background is I'm a financial advisor right now. I have my own investment firm, but before I got into this career 10 years ago, I was a pharmaceutical rep for 10 years. And I really felt like the more I learned about pharmaceuticals, the more I realized like we were never treating core issues. We were always treating downstream effects. And so I feel like your solution was probably treating the core issue, whereas drugs,
it was a root cause approach. Yeah, exactly.
So
those are the things that are, the only thing worth looking into is like addressing what's actually causing the problem, not just covering up the symptoms.
Tell me a little bit about OsteoStrong. Like, how does that work for people? What do they do?
So that medical device became OsteoStrong. Clinics, just under 300 around the world in 15 different countries.
That's great. And so they go there and is it like a workout? Is that what they're doing at the clinics?
It doesn't look like one. It kind of feels like one. You're self-inducing force through 4 different positions. So like the upper extremity position is like with your arms in front of you, 120-degree angle of inclusion right here, and back of the hand in line with clavicle. So in this position, and if you're just listening to this, so my arms are raised, so there's a 120-degree angle at my elbow, and the back of my hand is in line with the clavicle. Like my hands are outstretched. If I were to trip and fall, this is how I protect myself. So in this position, I can either absorb or create the greatest amount of force. And because of that, we isolate that position and we have the individuals self-create force, and they see it on a computer screen in front of them, and they're encouraged to best what they did the previous session. Now, if you wait long enough, which is 7 days between load exposures, you will typically have a greater functional bone performance every time because your bone density is going up.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
real simple, real straightforward, and it works better than any drug ever tried.
Yeah, for the listeners, imagine a football player, imagine a lineman, how they put their hands out to block the defensive lineman. That's the position he was showing. That it looked very similar to someone who's blocking, which makes sense because that's what they're doing, is pushing people away from them. So how did that lead into like, I mean, obviously you're doing that, you're very successful with it. Then you continue to like innovate. So tell me about how and why you decided to do the X3 bar.
The next thing that happened was while I was doing the clinical trial, a lot of the physicians, I did it in a hospital in London. And so a lot of the physicians were looking at the loads that we were using. Like these loads are so much higher than what people were using in a gym. Yeah, about 7 times greater, but it's because we're using the optimized position. And so basically, you look at optimized positions, you're a magnitude stronger in those positions than you are in your weaker positions. So if I'm 7 times stronger with my arms almost locked out, outstretched, than I am, let's say at the bottom of a push-up where my nose is against the ground, why would I ever train with a weight?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I just did bench press today. And we start with the weight on our chest and we push it all the way out. And
right. And it's heavy when it's on your chest. And when your arms are extended, it's super light. It's like it's not even there. Right. So now that you know that, now that you've thought about it, why would you ever do that again? Doesn't make any sense. You're really only training one range of motion, the weak range of motion. Why not have a heavy weight where you're stronger and have the weight change as you move so it becomes lighter where you're weaker? So that way and this is like a quote from one of the best studies on the subject. The objective of variable resistance is to have a uniform difficulty through the entire movement. Therefore, you create more exhaustion, or said differently, the more mechanical tension you put through the target muscle with velocity loss, which is just a fancy way of saying you can't do anymore. Like you're spent, you're tired. That's the greatest stimulus for growth. So the more intense that stimulus, the more fatigue in a shorter period of time, the greater growth response you're going to have. And this beats weight training so big. And that was why I wrote the book, Weightlifting is a Waste of Time. Now, I didn't say resistance training is a waste of time. So, like, it's so funny. All the negative reviews about my book are just people who reacted to the title. Like, and it's funny. They bought the book, and you can tell they wrote the review the same day they bought the book. So it takes 3 days to get it shipped. So they bought it so they could write a review because they were angry at the title.
Well, you're talking about, we talk about big pharma and big oil and big food, but man, there's a lot of gym. In the town I live in, which is about 85,000, there's probably 25 gyms here. You're stepping a lot of people's toes who make a lot of money.
Right. And they're willing to throw money at the idea of like sabotaging me. And they have.
Yeah.
It's okay though. Their arguments are so transparently bad that it actually helps sales. So the more people that are upset and kicking and screaming about me saying weightlifting is a waste of time, I was like, weightlifting is the greatest thing for you. Yeah, right. You haven't read the book.
That's great.
Like,
oh man, I switched to the gym this morning. I should have done that.
Yeah, so, I do heavier resistance training than probably anybody you've met. My regular training partner, when I head out to our partners, Westside Barbell, I'll tell you their story in a second, but they train the strongest people in the world. My regular training partner, he was on ESPN Strongman. He's the 9th strongest guy on earth. Like these people are strong for a reason at Westside Barbell, and that reason is variable resistance. So I just created a product. My goal, my product was Westside Barbell in a box. So in the 90s, Louis Simmons, the guy who started Westside Barbell, it's on the west side of Columbus, Ohio, he had an idea. He wanted to use variable resistance and build the world's biggest, strongest athletes. And nobody would listen to him. So he goes, great, I'll just get a bunch of local guys from west side Columbus, my friends, and we're going to break all the world records. And he did. He broke more than 140 world records. Westside Barbell has more world records broken than any country on earth, including the United States. So basically, everyone else's approach is pretty stupid and ineffective by comparison. Now, if you're not comparing it, like a lot of studies are just like one type of weightlifting versus another type of weightlifting, and people wave those papers around when they do, angry videos about me. And it's like, that great. That's not what we're talking about. You might as well tell me about the research on fly fishing. Like, okay, it's just different subject. And the research that has been done on variable resistance is incredibly powerful, and it shows an absolute superiority.
Now, I follow a lot of people in this space, and it sounds like, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything, it sounds like Dave Asprey has taken your method and changed it a little bit to make it his method. Is that he also is really big on it, resistance at the extent, right? Have you heard about that?
Well, I mean, Dave sells X3s, so
does he?
Yeah,
good. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so he's into it. Sorry. Right. So like I said, like when I hear you talk, I recall him saying that, guys, this sounds really same, very familiar. And so it makes sense that he actually sells
his
your
style,
product.
like he affiliate reps a lot of different products.
Right.
I mean, that's cool. Like he vets them, and he's a very smart guy.
Well, and he doesn't, and to be clear about that, he doesn't sell, dial weight barbells, right? He's selling products that he believes in. You know what I mean? He doesn't sell just everything.
Right.
He has to believe in it. So, but
right. His videos say like band training is great. And then as they ask more questions, he sends them a link to X3. Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
So that's just his style. It's just the way he talks about it.
So my son is a high school senior right now. He's currently being recruited as a long snapper. And so we spend a lot of time in the gym working out. And then he's also got a speed and agilities trainer. And so one of the things that I look at when we look at speed and agilities is specifically like it's how strong your legs are. People don't realize how strong your legs are is really a big important factor in how fast you run. It's not unleashing the power that's in the muscle in a different way. So my question to you is like, you've definitely worked with NFL and NBA players. How resistant were they, to use a pun, I guess I didn't mean to do that, but how resistant were they to the idea behind this? And you're like, hey, because I mean, their money is on the line. If they're not in peak athletic performance and getting better, then their money is on the line. How did you get past the resistance of those kinds of players?
They didn't resist it at all. Like not even a little bit. It's funny, the more achieved the athlete is, the more they realize that standard weight training doesn't really work for very many people. Like, it's so funny that there's so many conversations about fitness all over social media, and nobody's talking about the fact that like 99% of people that go to gyms never change. They look exactly the same. They're exactly the same strength. If they started fat, they're still fat. Like, they don't get any results at all.
Right.
Like, full stop. That's the fitness industry right there.
Right.
Whether it's 90% or 95% or 99%, I don't know. But I know there's a life hack study that was done last year that shows that 90% of people quit their fitness program within 90 days. Now, we know they're not quitting because they grew their muscles too big. Like, that's never happened. So, yeah, right. So it's like the idea that like all these things have some sort of like equal value or, well, that's your approach, man. Yeah, fuck off.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's not my approach. This is a superior approach, and what you're doing is just stupid.
Right.
Like I said, if you know you're 7 times stronger in the fully extended position than in the weak position, why would you ever train with a weight? It's obviously dumb.
Yeah. And so but in your program and your protocols, you have specific things like, again, for athletes who want to run faster, who, you know what I mean? They want to be able to block more.
Well, so we have three programs. Most people should stick to the basic one.
Mm-hmm.
The basic one will be great if you've never exercised ever a day in your life. You don't even know what the difference between a barbell and a dumbbell is. You're great for the basic program. And the basic program will take you to like getting the body of an elite athlete. Then we have the hypertrophy program, which is a little more serious. So somebody who's on the regular program, there's a little more volume with the hypertrophy program, a little more time commitment, and you'll see some extended growth, faster growth from that. But the best program is the one that is actually what the NFL does. And that's the Westside Barbell program. That's how we're partnering with Westside Barbell. So you're actually being instructed by the strength coaches in the world that take care of NFL and also UFC fighters. Big connection at UFC. So, greatest power to weight ratio, people that actually need to be the absolute strongest. They go through Westside Barbell. And if you want to do those exact workouts to increase your speed, performance. The other two programs are really more about growing muscle and being healthy, whereas the Westside Barbell program is growing muscle, being healthy, and being like the best athlete on the field.
Okay. All right. So like for me, maybe I'm probably a 1. I've lifted my weights my entire life. Maybe I'm a 2, program 2, but like my son, again, trying to be like an NFL at some point, an NFL caliber athlete. He'd be like a level 3 guy.
Yeah, he would need the Westside Barbell program. And if he did that for 6 months and kept doing it, nobody ever catch him.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I think about
because he'll have a head start to his peers, compared to his peers. Because ultimately, you're not competing necessarily against the stopwatch. You're competing against the guy next to you.
Right. That's right.
Like the combine performances have been going down in the last decade. I don't know if you realize that. It's
no, not at all.
Well, it's because kids are, they're special snowflakes.
They are very special.
Yeah. Like, when I went to wrestling practice in, 1991 when I was in high school, it was like the first day of practice, they didn't even do tryouts. Half the males just walked out in tears. I can't handle this. I can't do it. So it's just like, if you could even handle day one of wrestling practice, okay, it's a pretty good indicator. You're going to do all right.
Yeah. I played football in high school and college. And I can tell you for a fact that when I was playing football, like my freshman year, I was already pretty good at football. I was already making a name for myself. I was very strong. And I had several of my buddies go, "Hey, you want to wrestle?" And I'm like, "No way." Because I saw how hard they were working. I'm like, I don't want to work that hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, like whenever I hang out with like one of my bodybuilder friends, I got a few of those, or NFL friends, and they'll say something like, you really think, the UFC guys are that tough? Like, I feel like, they're not that big. Like, like, could I fuck one of those guys up in a fight? And I'm like, no way.
Right.
Like, anyone who has wrestled is the toughest. Like, if you've succeeded at doing that, or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's the same thing. Like, don't ever screw with those guys. If they got cauliflower ear, if you see the ear starting to like be a little deformed,
run away.
That's from like getting your cartilage crushed in your ears while training.
Yeah.
Don't mess with that guy.
Do you work with any UFC guys as well?
Not directly. Westside does.
Got it.
It's also like, I'm very forthcoming with my limitations. I'm not a strength and conditioning coach. I do not have that education. I'm not trying to compete with strength and conditioning coaches. I want to work with strength and conditioning coaches. So a lot of athletes that reach out to me, it's like, okay, tell me about your strength and conditioning coach. If they're like, oh, you're really cool guys, like, all right, let's get a 3-way call going.
Okay. So I think about so my son and I did tours, right? And so we saw the facility at University of Texas in Austin, Ole Miss. I mean, these are big facilities with tons, their weight rooms are bigger than most schools, like gyms, and they're loaded with racks and weights and all this stuff. And I mean, I remember the University of Alabama, they had like tethers connected to things because they were measuring like output, not just like, can you lift this weight, but how are you lifting this weight? Output, energy. And it's like, to me, it boggles my mind to think that they've spent millions and millions of dollars on all this stuff. And then you come in and they're like, hey, we're not going to use any of that stuff. Go grab one of those bands.
Well, I tell you what, yeah, it is interesting, but I cheated a little bit. There is a bar that records exactly what you're talking about. There is an X3 bar.
Okay.
It does that. Yeah. It's called the force bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It'll capture your aggregate force. That's the one I use. And basically every workout, I can make sure I am progressively overloading.
Go ahead.
Like I could be half a rep, like just a partial, just here. I could be half a rep away from my greatest performance ever. But if I don't have the data right in front of me while I'm doing it, I might miss out. I might not get it.
Right. Yeah, you push yourself when you see you're almost there, right?
Yeah. Biofeedback, it's a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How many days a week do you work out with the X3 bar? Like
6 days a week.
Oh, 6 days a week.
6 days, 20, like 23 minutes is usually what I get it done in. Because it's very intense. And also, like, I'm not going to lie to people, it's the hardest workout you've ever done. It's just
right. So the 20 minutes, you're exhausted.
Yeah. And in those 20 minutes, it's really like, just like 6 sets. So now it sounds like it's even shorter than 20. Like, wow, you do six sets in like 5 minutes. What are you talking about? you need to have a seat between some of these sets.
I was gonna say tons of recovery, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're gasping for
I
air.
remember I read this like really like out there, like it was a ebook almost like a PDF, and this guy had trained some of the fastest people in the world.
Mhm.
And all they did was like 3 core lifts, and they would basically just max every day. And but in order to max every day, the way that ATP and all the different things work, and I don't want to get into the science stuff because I'm not good at that either. But like the way that it worked was like you have like this part of your body that you can take like 10 seconds and it will use a completely different pathway than if you go into like 15, 20, 30 seconds. And it's like once you get into that 15, 20, 30 seconds rep, then you're now into a different pathway. And so you have to have like days of recovery. And so like, whereas if you just stay in that 1 10-second burst, you can get like, basically you can go every day because you're not overloading that second pathway. Is that kind of how this works a little bit?
That's a unique explanation, but like, I mean, I hadn't heard it quite worded that way, but that's accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. You really want to make sure that you stimulate. Just beating up on the muscle just makes it longer.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do the thing that gives the body the biggest stimulus and also the proper runway for recovery.
Yeah.
So, if you're just hitting a muscle over and over again and you're doing volume and
So the biofeedback part, I really do think like, especially you've got kids who started weight training when they're 14, you go to high school football or wrestling or whatever, and they're growing up and they're like, I can bench 225 and I can bench 315 and, this kind of things. We're talking about like phenomenal, amounts of movement that they can do. Is there a way for them to correlate that to like, hey, by the way, because you just did this, that would equal to like a 385 bench? Like, because I know that kids they like to look at their numbers and see that they're growing. Is there a correlation that they can look at it that kind of gives them like, hey, I'm better than you because I can do 17 seconds?
Yeah, there are outputs that are given. Your total aggregate score is really what you're comparing.
Okay.
From one person to the next. But I mean, like, if you're going to go into the NFL or you're going to play college ball, you're going to do a combine test.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd probably want to just keep in the habit, maybe once a week, just 225, a couple reps. So, because it's like throwing a baseball. If you ever hand a baseball to somebody who's never thrown a baseball, they throw it and you're like, dude,
exactly.
don't ever do that in front of people again. You look like an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, or you throw like a girl, like whatever they say.
Right. That's great.
It's because that's a skill. And a bench press is also a skill because you're balancing that weight. Like, it's not like pushing on a machine or like X3. So if you want that skill to be maintained, you do have to practice it.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I think especially for athletes that are training for a combine, because at some point they're gonna want to see if you can bench, and if you could be the strongest person in the world, but if you look awkward when you're doing 225, you don't pass the look test. Right? So like,
if you're just a little bit unstable, you trigger neural inhibition because your body is saying like, oh, you're not stable. We're going to shut off muscle, and it won't be an accurate representation of what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you still got to stay in the habit of now. I mean, but most of the guys I work with are already in the NFL, so they're never touching a bench press bar. They're never talking a standard barbell ever again.
Yeah,
like why would they? Yeah. They're not being judged on that. They're being judged on touchdowns and yards.
Right. Exactly. Right. Not letting Aiden Hutchinson get past them.
Once you're in the league, it's about how you play football. They don't really care how you lift weights.
That's wonderful.
And also, a lot of these guys are already super strong. Getting them a little bit stronger is like a massive win.
Right, exactly.
Because they're all at a certain level. Like if you can, some guy, if you can take somebody like JJ Watt and, make him like 5% stronger.
Yeah, those are big numbers.
Oh boy. Like he will overpower everybody. Right. So like and then the other thing is the tendon and ligamentous strength from variable resistance weightlifting is very little. Variable resistance, incredibly high. There's a study from 1999 by Benjamin and Ralphs that shows by hyperloading in the axial format, meaning on its axis. So as I straighten my arm, the loading that goes down my arm, all the tendons and ligaments in those joint capsules, my shoulder joint, my elbow joint, my wrist, are going to grow thickness in the tendons and ligaments so that they're more powerful and support that joint better. Well, that's injury prevention.
Do they have data that shows that kind of training leads to less like on the field injuries or on the court
for sure.
injuries?
Here. I mean, like, let me read you the back of Weightlifting is a Waste of Time. This is from Bill Foran, the strength and conditioning coach for the Miami Heat. And he's also in the USA Strength and Conditioning Hall of Fame. The X3 concept described in this book is a great addition to our program. It's joint friendly, and the variable resistance system of diminishing range of motion is a game changer we have not been able to duplicate with any other equipment. With a crazy NBA travel schedule, it makes great workouts on the road.
That to me, we were off the air. I told you, like, I heard about this like 5 years ago, and I remember looking at it and I thought to myself, like, I think that when you see it and you see you working out with it, you're so muscular, right? That I think that some people would look at it and be like, well, he's really strong, so of course he looks good. You know what I mean? Like, he could push.
They don't imagine
he could lift the teacup and people would think that's the next big workout. But then like, it seems almost too simple to be, like, too good to be true. It seems too simple to work.
Yeah. So I built my physique only using the product. Let me show you what I looked like on my 40th birthday. Like, I got a great before and after picture. I don't know if this will come through, but you can see day 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
Like,
that's great.
That's what happened. And I only use X3. I didn't use anything else. No weights, no kettlebells, no jump ropes, no nothing.
That's phenomenal. So like, speaking of like not using anything else or things like that, like, obviously when men get older, it becomes harder and harder to like recover and do things. And we know that because of the American diet and stuff like that, a lot of people are taking exogenous testosterone and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on like things like that, like exogenous testosterone or maybe peptides, things like that?
So like, I'm not going to like be sort of blanket one way or the other. A lot of these, almost any question in medicine or human physiology, even in sports performance, it's like, it depends. So random people walk up to me, hey, I saw your channel. Is rice good for you? And I'm like, for what? Good for you for what? Like, what are you trying to do? Like, you going to be a sumo wrestler? Yeah, eat all the rice you want. That's what they do, actually. They eat rice all day. Like, but for recovery, for, hydration of muscle, for fat loss, like it all depends. So, like, a lot of the people haven't even figured out what the context of their question is. And this is why I think AI is going to stumble a little bit, because you need to know enough to ask a good question. And if you don't know the subject well enough to ask a good question, you're going to ask a question that lacks context and you're going to get a nonsensical answer.
Right.
And so like with all these things, like, okay, it depends.
Yeah. I think that, anybody who has asked ChatGPT or any AI robot about 20 questions would totally agree with what you're saying. It's a garbage in, garbage out algorithm for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you brought up testosterone peptides. Like, there are some peptides that I think are spectacular. And if you're the right candidate, wow, like you're going to have like great things on your horizon. But also, like, if you're not exercising, you don't need peptides. You need to exercise first. Like, nothing's a miracle. Testosterone is not a miracle. Listen to this. 6.6% of adult men in the United States have taken or are currently using anabolic steroids, not TRT, or physiologic levels of anabolic steroids. Do 6.6% of men walking around today look fit?
Nope.
Yeah, not even 0.0006% of people look fit. Yeah. Like, you go to an airport, it's pretty much a big international airport, random sample of 1,000 people in the population. I like the airport because it's just, everybody goes to the airport. Poor people, rich people, fat people, fit people, everybody. Everybody needs to get on a fucking airplane from time to time. So you walk, like, and I made it a point with my wife, like, I'm like, how common is it to be in shape like me? And of course, she sees me and she sees my friends, and we've been together a long time. So she's like, yeah, 20% of people or something like that. It's like, no. 20% of the people that you see.
Right.
Because fitness people are like, they've got like the bag over their head. They have no idea what the rest of the world's like because they only hang out with fit people who are pre-selected genetic outliers. Go to an airport. How many people do you see that are lean enough for muscle to show and strong enough where there's actually, like, they don't just look like they're right out of a, starvation video? Like, maybe 1 out of every 10 airports you go to. That's 1 out of 10,000 people. That's
Yeah.
who's fit.
Yeah, that sounds right. I just actually
Right. And
I was just
that's
in
why it's like
LAX like 2 days ago. That sounds
defending, like
right.
when somebody says, "Oh, you have an unorthodox approach and weights have been working for years." No, they haven't. Like you just say that shit. It's not true. Right.
Right. Right. That's really interesting. So, what about diet? Like, what kind of a diet, do you kind of stick with? And then what kind of a diet do you kind of recommend for people when because again, we're going back to like the
One
average
thing I
man is going to be
one
overweight. The average man's
right.
not going to be strong like you. He's not going to be, 6% body fat. He's going to be
I
28%
started
body
off
fat.
weak and fat in this
Yeah.
adventure. Like when I launched, when I was 40 years old, I'm 49 now. When I was 40 years old, I was not strong and I had a lot of body fat. Like I looked completely not remarkable, just like a regular guy. Like I wasn't obese or anything, but you saw my picture. Like it just, yeah. If I took my shirt off at the beach, nobody would look at me. Now I take my shirt off at the beach and like people are like asking like especially men, like, dude, what are you doing? Like I can tell you're like over 40 and you're totally jacked. And I mean, it's like, I don't follow any standard fitness advice. That my advice is don't follow the advice. And there's a number of reasons for this. It's basically the same bullshit since the 1970s, just repackaged and repackaged and repackaged. On top of that, you're looking at genetic outliers who were basically born to build muscle. So what they do to build muscle is spectacularly irrelevant to you, unless you put on muscle very, very easily. And you're a genetic outlier too. But, if that's the case, then you should already have an NFL contract. If you don't, then you're probably wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So, kind of going back to like just revisiting the question though, like, so we had kind of talked on the air about like, protein and carbs and stuff like that. And I'm assuming like, that you're not a real carb heavy guy though. You know what I mean? You're not going to
No.
be.
Yeah. The carbs I get are somewhere between 20 and 50 grams a day, never more than that. Now, some super low carb people would be like, oh, 50 is just ridiculous. It's way too much. It's not much. That's a pretty small amount. But I do it not for health reasons, for vanity reasons.
Interesting.
Muscles look better with carbs.
Oh, they're like more because the carbohydrate carries water. That's what carbohydrate stands for, is carries water.
That's
and
right.
So by carrying water, you're a little more like filled out.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just look better.
Yeah. I again, like, that's interesting because we did talk about it like off the air, and like there is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. You can
There's
live
essential
without
fats,
carbohydrates.
omega-3s, basically that's one. And then there are essential amino acids. There's 8 when you're an infant. 9 when you're an infant and 8 when you're an adult. And then basically nothing else matters because any other nutrient your body can make. And also, on the subject, we kind of laughed about calories. Like protein has no mechanism for being stored as body fat. That's why when people eat a protein heavy diet, even if they're eating a significant amount of calories, they're losing body fat. It's because they're eating something that can't be stored as body fat. So the idea of counting calories is like, don't do that. Count grams of protein.
Yeah.
And if you count grams, by the time you eat the proper amount of protein, you won't even be hungry for other stuff.
Right. So now I see varying degrees of protein, intake, but recommendations, but it sounds like 1.2 grams to 1.6 grams of protein for every pound you weigh seems about right.
Whoever told you that, you need to unfollow and unsubscribe.
Okay, good to know. What do you think?
1 gram per pound of body weight is the.
Did you say 2?
1 gram per pound.
Oh, 1 gram per pound. Okay, 1 gram per pound. Okay, all right. So
and also, what you were saying with 1.6 or whatever, that's probably grams per kilo.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, probably.
And that's also wrong. It's 2.2 grams per kilo.
Okay. So which would be 1 gram per pound.
Yeah. I think there's, I don't know if it's a conspiracy or maybe it's just because protein's more expensive and governments like telling people to eat the cheap stuff because they're feeding a significant portion of the population. 76% of Americans are on one type of regular government payment, monthly payment. And so, like, does government want to give you $2 a day and tell you Oreo cookies are really good for you, or does it want to give you $20 a day so you can have
Right.
It's like they're going to tell you to eat the cheap stuff. Like, and also, like, people need to stop thinking that government exists to babysit them. It exists for national security, so we can have a military, so we can have roads, but like, they're not there to wipe your ass. They're not there to treat you like you're a stupid baby, like liberals seem to think.
I mean, I might actually go a little further and say that they're not in it for you at all. Like the FDA seems to be in it for big pharma and big food. They don't
The
really care about,
FDA,
they don't really care about what your health is like. They
I
care
meant
about how much money they're getting in
organizations-
funding.
I meant government organizations that are not criminal.
Okay.
I would say the FDA is criminal.
Right.
Or at least they've done some stuff that certainly looks criminal, and they really need an answer for it. And I'm glad RFK is there. He's a friend of mine.
Good.
I got a great video interview with him about the beef industry. It's on my YouTube channel. But like demonization of protein for whatever reason. I mean, conspiracy theorists will say it's because they just want to sell more metformin. They want to keep you eating carbohydrates, keep feeding you cheap food, keep you sick so they can sell you pharmaceuticals forever.
Yeah. Well, the economy runs on bad food and big drugs. I mean, that's how our economy runs. So they don't want to like take away from how we currently fund our economy. So a couple follow-up questions. When it comes to protein per pound, right? We talked about 1 gram of protein per pound. Does it matter if it's lean or does it matter if it has fat in it? I know that I've seen both sides of people say like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Some people are like, no, still grilled chicken breasts, no skin. You know what I mean?
This is another example of it depends. So, and it depends on how you're getting most of it. Like for me, I use a product called Fortigen, which is just essential amino acids, and I get 300 grams of protein from just that every day. And I only weigh, right now I'm like 210. So I'm way over the minimum. And so like, okay, why am I doing that? Well, I want to make sure I get the proper amount.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to make sure that I'm optimized to grow muscle. Also, that only comes to, I think like 34 calories. Is that right? 40, that's 48 calories a day.
Because it's the amino acids that turn into the effect
right,
of the
because it's just a fraction of a protein that gets assembled when it's in your body. So you're actually recycling old cells to fully assemble protein. So like you're eating up your scar tissue, fat tissue, anything when you do this. So what that's called is an acceleration of autophagy.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And so that's where I get my protein. So I have a shake in the morning, one midday, and then I only have real food, one meal a day. And because I get so much protein, I'm actually focused on getting as much fat as possible. So, liverwurst or ribeyes or, really
like a brisket,
really fatty stuff. Yeah. Tons of like pork, bacon,
chicken thighs instead of chicken breasts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah. With a lot of butter on it.
Right.
Yeah. Hard to say no. But one thing you asked about testosterone, and I'm just in the process of launching a testosterone product for the guys that are listening to this, and we will get it optimized for women, but it's not yet ready.
It's smaller doses. Yeah.
So it's smaller daily doses, but, and I got a great YouTube video on this. I should probably send you the link. You might put it in the show notes.
I'll put it in the description.
If you administer testosterone, the way your body up and down regulates testosterone, which means only in the morning. So injectable testosterone, it sucks because it keeps your testosterone high all the time. So that's where the side effects come from. Because I basically just asked myself the question a couple of years ago, like, you can have a person who makes a lot of testosterone and they don't have any side effects. Why do people who take injectable testosterone have side effects? Even at the replacement dose, there's still side effects. Why should there be side effects to something that's supposed to be there? And the answer is, like so many other things, humans have just decided to do it the stupid way and elevate it 24/7. Well, that's not how the body works. So when you only elevate it in the morning, you can, like, a small amount of testosterone metabolized quickly takes you to a huge nanogram to the deciliter count. So I take 15 milligrams of testosterone every day. That totals for the whole week to 105 milligrams per week, which is lower than a TRT dose.
Yeah.
Normally a TRT dose is 150, 140 for some people, somewhere between 100 and 100. So 105 is pretty low. So I'm using a small amount of testosterone, but that 15 milligrams a day takes me to 2,300 nanograms to the deciliter for about an hour. And then it drops back down to sort of, my normal level. But in that hour, the testosterone has found its receptor sites. And when the receptor sites are populated, as long as I have the proper amount of protein and I stimulate growth, I'm growing muscle that day. And unlike regular TRT, even steroid cycles, like why do people run steroids in a cycle? I know nobody listening to this channel would ever really think about that, but I'm just trying to make a point. They run cycles to get away from the body adapting to those levels. Well, if you're using fast-acting testosterone only inside the natural window, the body doesn't see it as a problem, ever. So now you have testosterone with, more than likely, we don't know everything yet because there's only been about 100 test subjects on this, but basically it's testosterone replacement therapy that gives you the benefit of steroids with none of the drawbacks of even testosterone replacement therapy. So no hematocrit, which is thickening of the blood, no estrogen conversion, or minimal estrogen conversion. It's basically not a problem anymore. Like the SHBG stays normal, so your free testosterone stays high. You can go on and off it whenever you feel like it. Like if you're going on vacation, you just don't want to bother with it, don't want to take it with you. You're going to Saudi and they're going to like crawl up your ass about everything you have in your bag. Yeah, you can just not do it.
Okay.
Come home and get right back on, and there are no consequences.
And then how far away are you from a product that you can, let people in on?
Well, it's available now.
Oralonly.com. What is it?
And then click on Build Muscle.
Okay. What was the site one more time?
Oralonly.com. People won't forget that.
Okay, got it. And
because it's a gel, you squirt it under your tongue.
Got it. Okay, that was the next question. So you don't even have to do injections, which is a big problem with testosterone.
Right, and everything we're going to do with oral only, like there'll be some peptides, but they'll be in gels also that you squirt under your tongue. Because people don't want to inject anything.
No, not especially if they do daily injections.
Right. It's like there's so many people who would love to take a GLP agonist, but they're like, I don't want to inject anything on a regular basis. Like that sucks. Isn't there like a pill or something? Like
they're working on it, man.
Because working on fragile. They're working on it. Yeah, it won't. Sublingual delivery will be the way it works. Like that's how you're going to get the most. Like even right now, we have peptides on strips. I wish I had one right here in front of me. Like those fresh breast strips, you just put it under your tongue, and it gets in your bloodstream immediately.
Now you had mentioned with the fast acting testosterone that you're talking about. You had mentioned that your body will continue to make testosterone. It won't shrivel up your gonads and stuff like that.
It won't.
Yeah. So here's a question. So there's a lot of men I know just in my friend circle, a lot of men that are hit 40, 45, 50, and they start taking exogenous testosterone. And that's obviously a side effect of it, along with a hematocrit and other things that you're talking about. Now, if you've been on exogenous testosterone for 3, 5, 10 years, can you go to this? And would your normal functioning part of your testosterone come back, or is that pretty much gone forever?
No, it's not gone forever. There's a peptide that can bring it back. There's also HCG and clomiphene. That's like the old school way of doing it. But the peptide, it's called Kisspeptin. It's an acronym for something. I didn't name it. If you don't like the name, sorry. Just somebody yelled at me. It's like, what a stupid name. Like
I didn't invent it.
I didn't come up with it. Yeah, that peptide will restore your natural function. You got to do like a course of that for like a month.
Okay. Now, would you, so just again, because I think this is a fascinating topic. So would you just stop testosterone completely and do Kisspeptin for like a month, or would you like stop?
No, you can do it at the same time. You can do it at the same time. Start
using the fast acting and the Kisspeptin. That'd be a good, nice transition period.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. Wow. That's one of the reasons I love this show so much, mostly because I get fed so well in the information that I'm looking for and the information that and that's why I feel like I'm just like my listeners. I feel like my listeners want this stuff too. And we all know that the medical industry, the big pharma, big medicine, big insurance, man, they don't want anything to do with this stuff. They want to make sure that they keep us just well enough so that they can medicate us.
Yeah, it does seem that way. And of course, RFK has dug up some documents that kind of prove that it's that way.
Right.
Another guy to listen to is Callie Means. He's with the Make America Healthy Again group, and he's a pharma whistleblower.
Okay.
Yeah, he worked for Coca-Cola at first, and these are his words, I was literally delivering bags of money to scientists who were supposed to be writing studies about how Coca-Cola is good for you. And it's like, they're lying. And apparently scientists tend to agree with whoever is funding them. And like the global warming thing, like all these studies, like there's a journal of global warming. Wow, you put your bias right in the title.
Right.
Amazing.
Right.
I mean, it would be like a journal of everybody who disagrees with me as Hitler. I'm sure there's a lot of liberal people who would love to have that journal around, but the irony would be lost on them because they just can't see past their own psychosis. So, yeah, I mean, we just got to live in a world where we're dealing with facts
And
and
I may have,
aren't upset by facts.
yeah, I may have mentioned this before on the podcast. So if I have, please forgive me. But for those of you who haven't heard, so when a pharmaceutical company builds a study, right, they build the study to win. I know this for a fact because I was in pharmaceuticals for 10 years. They use actuaries, bean counters, basically people who will set the study up to include this group, exclude this group. They're going to run it for this duration at this dose for, you know what I mean? They know before they even find the first patient to stick in the trial. They
the
know
results
they want.
the results are almost scripted with how they design.
Exactly. So I always tell people, like, when you see a drug study fail, you should really pay attention to that. When they're like, hey,
That's
we
good
just
advice.
spent $1 billion trying to get this primary prevention study.
Right.
So to this point, I will tell you, so I used to sell one of the largest statin drugs in the world. And I will tell you, to this point, all statin drugs, there's not a single one that shows primary prevention of death. So not even a single one. And they've all tried with their actuaries, with their bean counters, with stacking all the cards in their favor. They still can't get it to happen.
And there are studies that were done independently that show that people who take statins live shorter lives.
Yeah, that's right. And that data is coming out now too. So yeah, that's interesting as well, to make sure that you don't just eat everything you've been given. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Pay attention, do your own research, listen to guys like Dr. Jaquish, and we'll be solid from there. Well, before we go, I want to respect your time. Before we go, is there anything that you want to talk about?
I would say the best advice I can give everybody is to follow me on YouTube. It's just free education. I talk about diet, human physiology. I'm going to keep you from wasting your time. Because so many of these trends like come and go. Like, remember, it was only a couple years ago, like, oh, Peloton, everybody's going to be lean. And then it's like, yeah, nothing happened. And I was during that time, I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to do anything for people. Like, they don't. And I explained why. And I'm constantly doing that. I put out 2 long form videos a week. And by long form, I mean like 10 minutes, because it's very digestible. And it's info that you can put to work.
Okay. Yeah, I will definitely link to all your YouTube and your X3 bar, OsteoStrong. I'll link to all that in the description notes so people will know how to get there. I have one last question for you, and then I'll let you go. And it's the question I'm asking for 2026 is, how do you define wealth?
Not wasting your time wanting stuff.
That's really
like, it's like, I think when my wife married me, she thought I'd be just like a maniac about like spending a ton of money on all sorts of self-indulgent stuff. And it's like, I'm really just into cars, and I just have one awesome one that I drive every day. Like, it's like, if I have that, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Life's.
I live in a killer place that feels like a resort, and that was a goal. And then drive a car I want to drive. And as long as I have financial security moving in the future, I don't need anything else. Anything else is just, more security. I don't know. Maybe I'll at some point have like hundreds of millions of dollars, and I can, like, save some endangered squirrel or something like that. Because instead of whining about it, what you need to do is write a check.
Right.
Whining doesn't fix anything. Writing checks does.
Right. Capitalist. Let's earn money to give to the causes that we care about.
It's the only way to solve problems.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's really good. Yeah. Okay, well, I really appreciate your time. I've really enjoyed this immensely, and I'd love to have you back on the show because I have a feeling we're going to have to learn more about fast-acting testosterone down the road.
I think you're right.
And then I just feel like there's another book in there somewhere. So when that comes out, I'll want to talk to you about that as well. But for those of you guys listening, if you enjoy the show, please drop a comment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all the cues that we need to let the algorithms know that this is good stuff and you enjoy it. Please help us out with that. And that just continues to get our message out to everybody so we can get the all this good information to people that they deserve it. So thank you again, Dr. Jaquish, for your time. And
Thanks, Chris.
thank you, everybody, for being here and listening.